Okay. We are starting chapter 4 this week. Chapter 4. So, what I want to do is go through our textbook, go through the sections of chapter 4 that you're going to need to know to do well on your homework and to do well on your chapter 4 test. Okay. So, let's take a look here and let me see. Um, Give me a second. 1 second. Okay, so chapter 4 starts on page 99, and it's entitled, it has to do with La Familia, the family. So we're going to learn about the family, particularly how to say the family relationships in Spanish. How do we say mother, father, aunt, uncle, cousin, etc. That's what we'll be learning here. And we'll be talking a little bit about our families. So, um, let's move on. And in the same order as always, we're going to start out with comunicación. There are a couple comunicación sections. Um, a- and again, there's not going to be a lot on your exam on this, or very little, but let's go through this um, quickly. So what do they want us to know? And this is on page 100. So they have ¿A qué te dedicas? And it's you're literally asking somebody, what do you dedicate yourself to? Basically, what is your profession? What do you do for a living? ¿A qué te dedicas? You would ask that if you were using tú with somebody, the tú form, somebody who's friends or family. If you want to use the more formal usted form, you would ask the second question. ¿A qué se dedica? And they both mean and ask the same thing. Okay, let's move on. Um, what I'd really like to do is go to the box on the next page at the top of 101. And again, these are some basic things now you should all feel comfortable with. If you were asked them by somebody, or if you had to write about this or you saw it in writing, these are questions you should be able to ask or answer. And so, ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? For the using the tú form of you, or ¿Cómo se llama? Using the usted form of you. ¿De dónde eres? There's the verb ser in there, eres. Where are you from? Where are you from? And the next one, ¿de dónde es? Where are you from usted? ¿De dónde es usted? So again, the formal one is ¿de dónde es usted? The informal two form is ¿de dónde eres? Finally, you might want to ask somebody their age. ¿Cuántos años tienes? We always describe age using the verb tener, to have. We have years. We are not years as in English. ¿Cuántos años tienes tú? And if you want to use the usted form with somebody, you would ask ¿cuántos años tiene? But let's move on quickly here. This is just some basic Spanish they would like you to be familiar with, and it is good to know if you're going on with the language. You might, when you introduce yourself using maybe some of the above vocabulary or question and answer, these are some additional things you might want to ask about to somebody. And you might want to ask them, what is your profession? Again, the two form would be, ¿Cuál es tu profesión? And if you want to ask your with usted, that's going to be su. ¿Cuál es su profesión? What is your profession? Or you could ask, what this whole unit started out with, ¿A qué te dedicas? Literally, what do you dedicate yourself to? They both mean the same thing. ¿Cuál es tu profesión? The usted form is ¿a qué se dedica? Okay. And so let's take a look. They give you an example. There's a girl, Mavi, and they ask her, Mavi, ¿a qué te dedicas? What do you do for a living? What's your career? And she said, estudio ciencias políticas. And then Señora Serna, we're going to use usted with her. ¿Cuál es su profesión? And she says, soy Ingeniera. I'm an engineer. Okay. Here's a few um, vocations or careers somebody may have. And there's male and female forms again. Spanish focuses on gender again in a way that English does not. So abogado is a male attorney, abogada is a female attorney. Chofer is a driver. Doctora or médico. You can use either one. And there's doctora, doctor, médico, médico. Um, Guía naturalista, periodista is a journalist, pintora, painter, policía is a policeman, or la policía is a policewoman, psicólogo, psicóloga, sociólogo, socióloga. So you can look at some of those professions. Okay, what else do they want us to know in comunicación? And your chapter starts out with this on the first page. Qué bonita familia. Okay, bonito, bonita means beautiful or pretty, or so. Que bonita familia, what a beautiful family. Okay, so let's take a look here. You can use the um, word que, and it means what? It's a question word, but it's more akin to how in English. So in Spanish they would say like what a beauty, okay? But in other words, but we would say how beautiful. We tend to say how. They use que. That's the closest I can come to it. So que plus an adjective means how. Let's take a look in this box here at the bottom of page 101. Que guapo, how handsome. Que guapa, how handsome. Notice when you refer to somebody, like let's say somebody is, uh, um, you want to say that they're handsome or good looking. For a guy, you would say que guapo, the masculine form. For a woman, que guapa. The adjective has got to agree in gender and number with the thing or person it's referring to. Just remember this on the test. And when you're speaking Spanish or writing Spanish. Um, and if, say, you were talking about a bunch of men, and you wanted to say how handsome, you wouldn't say que guapo, los hombres, you'd say que guapos. So you got to make it plural and masculine. Same with women. If there's a bunch of mujeres there, you wouldn't say que guapa mujeres, you'd say que guapas. Again, watch out for that. Okay, you can use que with a noun. So a Leo is like a mess or a problem. Que lío. So you can use it with a noun. It's the same thing. In that case, it means like what a. You could use it with problema. Que problema. What a problem. Maybe it's a messed up family. You could say que familia. What a family. So you can use it with nouns. We use it a lot with nouns, but often you use it with adjectives. Okay. Que frío, que calor. You hear this a lot. Somebody will walk into a room and it might be really cold. Que frío. Or they'll walk outside. Que calor. All right. So I think that's enough with that. I wanted to give you the feel for how that works. And you hear it all the time in Spanish. Now we can move right into vocabulario. Okay, let's go to vocabulario, next big area. And this is on page 103. And we're going to learn here about the family and the family members. Okay, you're going to be given a family tree, just like here on page 103. There's some more on page 104. I'm sorry, 106, 107. You're going to be given a family tree with various generations, the grandparents, the parents, their children, and possibly the children's children. Okay, so when you're given something like this, you should be able to second here. don't know why I'm not. Let's see. Video. There I am. So you're you're going to be given the family tree. And so what I want you to do is to become familiar with reading the family tree. They're going to be in your homework and on your test. They're very simple to work with. Okay? And so they're going to give you the name of each person on the family tree, and then they'll ask you, how is Pedro related to Betty? Okay? All right. And basically, you just have to fill in the blank with the correct family member relationship. Is it the sister? Is it the brother? Is it the aunt? Is it the uncle, the cousin? So let's take a look here at page 103. And just notice that Carmen and Ricardo are married. Okay, you could tell by the rings. So we know they're a married couple. They're esposos. Okay, and we'll learn these terms. Esposo is husband, and esposa is wife. And you'll notice in Spanish as we learn the family terms, there's generally a masculine term that ends in O and a feminine term that ends in A. So, hermano is brother, hermana sister. Okay. Primo is male cousin, prima is female cousin. Uh, we'll be looking at this now. So there is a logic to a lot of the family relationships. You just need to become familiar with the family relationships. How do you say mother, father? Okay. La madre is mother. El padre is father. How do you say grandmother? La abuela. How do you say grandfather? El abuelo. So you need to get familiar with these terms, but let's just look at this family tree. So we've got Carmen and Ricardo. We know that they're married. Then we see that they have three children, biological children, Maria, Aurelia, and Jaime. And then we see Maria, one of their children, is married to Antonio. We can tell by the wedding rings. And Jaime is married to I guess Gustavo in this particular example. And then the offspring, okay, there's their children, okay. So Antonio and Maria have a child, Camila, um, or Camila, that's their child, their daughter, hija. And then they put in the mascotas or pets. They are considered family members. In terms of Jaime and Gustavo, uh, they have two children, Sebastián and Isabel. And again, there's a mascota, a pet. They're including them as family members. So look through these family trees, particularly if you've never had Spanish before. Most of you would have been exposed to this at some time to familiarize yourself with the family relationships. But let me jump down here. Well, let me go back to the diagram real quickly. So the first generation, Carmen and Ricardo, we know are married. One is la abuela y el abuelo. So they're the grandparents. Then the generation below them would be their children. Okay, Maria, Aurelia, and Jaime. And then Maria is married to Antonio. They're esposos. She's the esposa. He's el esposo. And they have a child, Camila, a daughter, which is hija, Hija. Jaime and Gustavo again are married. They're both esposos, and they have two children. They have a son, hijo, and a daughter, Isabel. And let's take a look here. Now, in this diagram, what they've done here is they go to Camila. Okay. And they're giving you the family relationship of all the people from Camila's perspective. So Camila's father is Antonio, el padre. Camila's mother is Maria. Camila's aunt, okay, the mother's sister would be Aurelia, la tía or aunt, and the mother's brother will be her uncle. Jaime is her uncle or el tío. As simple as that, okay? So everything is from her perspective. Now, her uncles here are married and have two children. Okay, the two children they have is Sebastian and Isabel. So they would be her cousins. The word for cousin for a male is primo, el primo, and for a female it's la prima. So that's where these terms are coming from. Now, her grandparents are up here, right? They're the parents of her mother. So her grandmother is la abuela and her grandfather is el abuelo. So take a look at this and make sure you know these relationships. So, and let's take a look at the little box below to get a little more familiar with this. So it says, el padre or papa de Camila se llama Antonio, right? So her father se llama Antonio. And it says, María es la madre. María es la madre de Camila. Okay. So how do we say Camila's father? There's no apostrophe S in Spanish. Doesn't exist. We can't say Camila padre. We, how do we say Camila's mother? We can't say Camila madre. We use the preposition de. Be aware of this and use it. You say so the way we say Camila's father, we say the father of Camila, el padre de Camila, el padre de Camila. How do we say Maria's mother? I'm sorry. How do we say Camila's mother? We say la madre de Camila, the mother of Camila. Please get used to this, okay? Bob's brother, the word for brother is hermano, so it would be el hermano de Bob. Bob's sister would be la hermana de Bob. So take a look at this. Here is your vocabulary. Jaime es el tío de Camila, okay? Jaime es el tío de Camila, the uncle. All right. Su esposo, marido, pareja. So you could say, so Jaime's husband, esposo, another word for esposo is marido, or pareja, you can use, means partner, se llama Gustavo. So Gustavo is his, either his pareja, his marido, or his esposo. Generally, we use the word esposo, but or esposa if it's feminine for wife. Okay. Um, let's see. Look what it says here. Aurelia tiene otra sobrina, además de Camila, Isabel. So Aurelia. Now, Aurelia here is not married and has no children, but her sister's children would be her niece and nephew. So niece is Sabrina. Okay. Okay. Camila would be the sobrina de Aurelia. She's her niece. And Aurelia's brother has two children. The male would be the nephew. Nephew is sobrino. And Isabel would be sobrina. So from Aurelia's perspective. So niece and nephew. Okay. Jaime y Gustavo, we see here, they have Jaime y Gustavo tienen dos hijos. They have two children. Okay. Now, hijos can mean sons, but collectively it usually means children. They have a boy, a son, el hijo Sebastián, and a daughter, hija Isabel. Does everybody see that? So start familiarizing with these terms. Okay. Um, husband, wife, son, daughter, grandmother, uncle, aunt, and nephew. Hija única means only child. Okay, so Camila is a hija única. If she were male, she'd be an hijo único. Um, we have the word nieto. That's very important. So here are the grandparents, then their offspring, and then their children, Camila, Sebastián, and Isabel, are the grandchildren of Carmen and Ricardo. They're the abuelos. What's the word for grandchild? It's nieto for a male and nieta for a female. Collectively, you say nietos. Nietos means grandchildren. Nieta means a female a granddaughter, and nieto means a grandson. All right, and then they give you the different mascotas or pets, and they include them in the family. Okay, let's look at some more vocabulary and move on here. Relatives, and again, we're on page 103. There's a lot of information here. Make sure you go through this. What about a great grandfather, grandmother? Well, you're gonna put the word bis before abuelo or abuela. Bisabuelo is great grandfather, bisabuela is great grandmother. Cuñado, that's a brother-in-law or a sister-in-law. All right. The word for boyfriend is novio. The word for girlfriend is novia. Nuera is daughter-in-law. Son-in-law is yerno. Um, father-in-law is suegro and mother-in-law is suegra. Daughter-in-law and son-in-law are very odd. They don't completely match each other. Usually, I told you family relationships, they match each other. The O ending relationship is the male version. The A ending is the female. Tío, tía, hermano, hermana, um, etc. Cuñado, uh, brother-in-law, cuñada, sister-in-law. Okay. Hermano, brother, hermana, sister. But for daughter-in-law, nuera, and for son-in-law, yerno. And they also give you the step relationships. You just put the suffix astro or astra if it's feminine onto the term. So hermanastro, think of hermano, just drop the O, hermanastro or hermanastra, stepsister. An hijo is a son or daughter. Hijastro, stepson. Hijastra is stepdaughter. Madre, mother, but you drop the E and you get madrastra is stepmother and padrastro, stepfather. Okay. So you should be able to look at the above family tree and answer these questions and understand them. ¿Quién? ¿Quién means who? It's a question word. And it's plural because there's more than one who. Who are los padres de Camila? Now, what does los padres mean? Los padres means parents. They don't mean fathers here. The way to say parents is padres. Mis padres son colombianos. My parents are Colombian. Mis padres son americanos. Please be careful with that. So, ¿quiénes son los padres de Camila? We go back up here and we see the padres de Camila son Antonio y María. You should be able to answer these questions. ¿Cuántos cuñados tiene Aurelia? So, cuñados are brothers and sisters-in-law. So, Aurelia has what? A, a brother-in-law there. She has two cuñados, two brothers-in-law. Just to get you comfortable with this, okay? ¿Cuántos nietos tienen Carmen and Ricardo? Let's go see. We should be able to answer these. There's Carmen and Ricardo. They have three nietos. Camila, the nieta, Sebastián, a nieto, and Isabel, a nieta. Son tres nietos. So again, this is pretty straightforward. Okay. You might want to look at some of these definitions here. It's just a good exercise for you to do on page 104. Okay. Like provide the family term that corresponds to each definition, just to make sure you feel comfortable with this. La hermana de mi madre es mi. Now, what is it saying? La hermana de mi madre. What is an hermana? Sister. So my mother's sister. There's no apostrophe S in Spanish. The only way to say my mother's sister is not mi madre, hermana. It don't exist. Please don't do that. It's la hermana de mi madre, the sister of my mother. So the sister of my mother is my aunt. What's the word for aunt? Tia. Let's look at the next one. El hijo de mi hijo. Hijo means son. So el hijo de mi hijo means the son of my son. So the son of my son is my grandson. So it would be nieto. El hijo de mi hijo es mi nieto. All right, look at this one. Three, la hija de mi hermano. Hija means what? Hijo is son, hija is daughter. So the daughter of my brother es mi niece, sobrina. So please look at some of these. Look at this one, six. El marido or esposo, we could also say esposo or marido de mi abuela es mi abuelo. My grandmother's um, husband, right? You can't say abuela marido. There's no apostrophe s, so we have to say el marido de mi abuela. My the husband of my grandmother is my grandfather. Es mi abuelo. So look through some of those and make sure you feel comfortable reading these family trees and answering some basic questions. Let me see if there's anything else here I need you to be aware of. Okay. Again, on page 106, there's some more family trees with questions. Just again, look through them and see if you can make sense. And 107, you're going to have some of these family trees and they're going to ask you real basic questions. So they might say, Pedro es el blank de Armando. So if they say Pedro es el blank de Armando, well, what is Pedro to Armando? Pedro is the father of Armando. So Pedro es el papá de Armando. Okay. And they might say Ignacio es el blank de Marisol. You got to fill in the blank. Ignacio es el blank de Marisol. He's the father, el padre de Marisol. Ignacio es el blank de Sarita. Es el blank de Sarita. So if he's, let me see, that's not a good one. I don't, that's making it too complicated, but uh, let me see. They're married. Let's forget that because we're not going to get that involved, but you should be able to, okay, I guess that just means, one second. They're showing them as divorced or something. So Ignacio, his relationship to Sarita, um, you see, I do not like that. Let's see. Okay, so all right. So here we have what this one is a little bit better. Okay, on page 107. Let's take a look. We got Pedro and Manuela at the top, and then we've got this gentleman here married to Elena. Okay. And then what is Elena's relationship to Jorge? Elena es la madre de Jorge. So you're going to be asked some very basic questions like this. You can take a look at the word for God, mother, and godfather. Take a quick look at that. It's not super important for this test, but familiarize yourself with these. Okay. All right, let's move on now to Estructura, to grammar. So what do they want us to know in grammar? They want us to know comparatives. And what do they mean by that? It's very simple. You want to be able to use adjectives to describe someone or something as being more or less than someone or something else. So my brother is, there's the adjective tall, is taller than my sister. Okay. I could also say, my sister is less tall than my brother. Um, my aunt is prettier than my grandmother, or my grandmother is less pretty than my aunt. Um, my brother is more intelligent than my sister, or my sister is less intelligent than my brother. What are we doing? We're comparing individuals. We're using an adjective and using more and less. And that's basically all this is about. So let's move on and start with the actividades, okay, analíticas, right? And this is on page 109. So in English, to make comparisons in which one person is more of a given quality, ER may be added to the adjective. Mary is taller than Catherine. The word more may also be used. Okay. Mary is more intelligent than Catherine. The word is used to make these compare. What word is used to make these comparisons in Spanish? Okay. Where English uses the word than, Spanish uses the word que. So let's take a look. Jose es más we know is more. Alto is an adjective, and it means tall. So Jose es más alto que. That means than Antonio. So Jose is taller or more tall than Antonio. They do not have the ER or EST endings in Spanish. They don't cannot add those to their vowels, to their adjectives. So what they do is they either put a más or a menos. They use a más or a menos before the adjective. All right, that's what they've done here. So Jose es más alto que Antonio is the way that you would say Jose is taller or more tall than Antonio. That's the only way you can say it. Now, watch out when you're using adjectives in comparisons. If you got to look at the gender of whatever you're comparing. Here, we alto, remember, there's four ways to say adjectives that end in O. Male, the masculine singular, alto, the feminine singular, alta, the masculine plural, altos, and the feminine plural, altas. So you've got to be aware, and you've got to tweak your adjectives to whether the people referred to are masculine or feminine, singular or plural. Mónica y Julia son más delgadas. Delgada means thin, but we must say delgadas because there's two of them, and we have to use delgada, not delgado. Why? Because they are feminine. The delgada refers to them. Mónica y Julia son más delgadas que José. Be uh, careful. What if we want to say less than? We can use menos que. That's all, just the opposite. So Antonio es menos alto que José. All right. And all right. And we can, they want us to, they'll give us a statement using a comparison with más plus the adjective, and then they want us to use menos. So, María es más rica que Celia. So, rica means rich. Notice it's rica because María is feminine, rico. So, María is richer than Celia. Celia es menos rica que María. She's, in a sense, less rich. Juan es más alto que Marisela. Marisela es menos alta que Juan. Notice I changed it to alta because it refers to Marisela. Just watch that on your exam. When they give you these comparisons, tweak the adjective. Who or whom are you referring to? Okay. We have this in English. We can we have some of our comparisons are totally different than the base adjective. So we have tall and taller, right? Um, fat and fatter, etc. They're the same word, they're just you add an ER on the end. But in English, we also have words like good, the adjective good, but it becomes better. It's a totally different word. Or um, uh, bad becomes worse. And Spanish has that also. So just be aware of it. So uh, mejor means better. Bueno is good, but mejor is better. Um, Malo is bad, but peor is worse. So let's take a look. Mi hermano es mejor jugador de fútbol. My brother is a better player of football. El lunes es peor. Monday is worse. Okay? Not más malo, but peor. El lunes es peor que el martes. Mi hermano es mejor. Not más buen jugador, it's mejor. Okay, so we get a totally different word. So we get bueno, mejor, malo, peor. Okay. We also have older and younger. Okay, so mayor means older in terms of age. Menor is younger. Okay, all right, let's take a look. We could say Arturo es mayor que su hermana. He's older than his sister. Yo soy menor que tú. I am younger than you. Soy menor. So mayor means older. Menor is the comparative form, means younger. Please remember this. Notice when it's plural. Nosotros somos mayores que nuestros amigos. We are younger than our friends. Okay, all right. All right. You could also use viejo here. Arturo es más viejo, or okay, or say somebody's older. Just say uh, Arturo is older. Arturo es más viejo. Elena es más vieja. Okay, let's move on. Okay. And again, these are known as comparisons of inequality because one person has more or less of whatever the adjective or descriptor is. Someone's taller or less tall, more intelligent or less intelligent, more beautiful or less beautiful. Okay, just be careful on your exam, okay, when you are doing the comparisons, okay? Um, um, that you'll when you are comparing things, mi hermano es I don't know, blank que yo, and he's older than you, you would say mi hermano es mayor que yo, or let's get a better example. Um, Mis hermanas son más bonitas que yo. Okay, my sisters are better looking, prettier than I am. Notice I don't say bonitos or bonito. I have to take the adjective since I'm talking about my sisters. You have to tweak the adjective when you're doing comparisons to agree in gender and number to the person or persons you're referring to. All right. After we finish with comparisons here, there's a brief section, a culture uh, reading on page 111. I bring this to your attention because it's going to be on your exam. You're going to have to answer some true and false questions on this. So read through it, make sure you feel comfortable with it. It's called cultura, la planificación familiar en Guatemala. So family planning in Guatemala. Okay. So it will talk a little bit about this. It'll describe certain things about Guatemala, like el altiplano, the highland regions of Guatemala, and the habits of the people there, etc., and how they live. Make sure you read through this. You feel comfortable with it because it will be on your exam. It'll make your reading easier when you get to your exam. And there will be various true and false questions. The next area in grammar is going to be, okay, on page 112. So we're going to go to 112. Let me see. Give me a second here. Yeah. Okay. So on 112, we're going to look at some more stem changing verbs. Remember, we learned how to conjugate verbs in the present tense in Spanish. And we learned that verbs in Spanish either end in AR, ER, and IR. And you need to be aware of this because it will affect the endings on the end of the verb when you go to conjugate it with the subject pronoun, okay? Am I conjugating an AR verb, an ER verb, an IR verb? And you'll usually know this immediately, particularly as you get more familiar with the language. So once we know what kind of verb we have, AR, ER, IR, to conjugate it, what do? We get the stem, right? How do we get the stem? We drop the AR, ER, and IR. And then we add on our endings. And we learn the endings. So we should all know the present tense endings for AR verbs. All right. So if the subject pronoun is yo, the ending will be o. If the subject pronoun is tú, it'll be as. If the subject pronoun is él, usted, or ella, it'll be a. If the subject pronoun is nosotros, it'll be amos. And if it's ellos or ustedes, it'll be ellan. We should all know that by now. And for ER and IR verbs, it's very, very similar. Make sure you go over those endings, stem and ending. Okay. Now, what was the unique thing about the stem changing verbs? You drop the AR, ER, and IR, and then a vowel in the stem changes. And we learned O stem changes in our last unit. We learned about 4 or 5 verbs. That's all we need to know. And what did the O change to when we changed it? It changed to UE. All right, remember that? And so, and where did the stem change occur? It occurs in almost all the conjugations, except it does not occur in nosotros. So it occurs everywhere except nosotros. In nosotros, we keep the vowel the same. We don't change it, right? So if I want to use the verb poder and I want to say I can, I kept to have the stem change. I would say yo puedo. Okay, tú puedes. Okay. But for we can, nosotros podemos. There's no stem change. I just wanted to go over that. The same thing happens in the next category of stem changing verbs, and there's only about 4 or 5 of them we're going to learn here. The E of the stem, once we drop the AR, ER, IR, the E goes to I when we go to conjugate it. And the E of the stem goes to I for the yo form, the tú form, the L, ella, usted form, and for the ellos, ustedes forms. For the nosotros forms, it just stays a regular E. It does not change to I. What about the endings? You use the regular endings. If it's an AR verb, you put AR endings on. If it's an ER verb, you put ER endings on. If it's an IR verb, you use IR endings. So let's find out what these verbs are. What are these stem changing verbs where the E goes to I? One of the most prominent, best known ones is decir. Decir. The E goes to I, and decir is to say, or state. Now, there's the E now goes to I. So instead of the stem being DEC, it's dis. It becomes dis. Tu dices. él dice, ellos dicen. For nosotros, there is no stem change. It's nosotros decimos. It stays the same. Now, with this verb, unfortunately, the yo form is irregular. You just have to learn it. It's not not dico as you would think it would be. It's digo, and so you just have to learn it. I say it is yo digo. Please learn this and become familiar with it. So it's yo digo, tú dices, ella dice, nosotros decimos, no stem change, and ellos dicen. Okay. All right. What other verbs are there where the E of the stem goes to I? Servir, it happens, the verb to serve, and pedir. Pedir means to request, ask for, order food like at a restaurant. Very common verb, pedir. And again, they conjugate servir for you. So, and pedir, but they don't fill them all in, but let's do that quickly. So the stem now of servir is sirv, S-I-R-V. S-I-R-V. So yo sirvo, tú sirves, él sirve. There is no stem change for nosotros, so we'll keep it in E. It's servimos and ellos sirven. What about pedir? Again, the E goes to I. So for yo, it's yo pido. Tú pides, él pide. No stem change for nosotros. Nosotros pedimos, we ask for or request, and ellos piden. Some other verbs where the E goes to I, here they are. Repetir, yo repito, tú repites. The second E goes to I. All right, for yo, tú, él, ella, and ustedes, and ellos. But for nosotros, there is no stem change. It's nosotros repetimos. Another one is seguir. Seguir is an irregular verb, but it's got an irregular yo form, but the SEG goes to SIG, so it's tú sigues, you follow, él sigue, he follows, ellos siguen, okay? And then nosotros seguimos, no stem change, okay, which there never is. Uh, and then the yo form is irregular. You just have to learn it. It's sigo, yo sigo. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I wanted to make you aware. You're going to be tested more on the ones above, but I wanted you to be aware of this. Okay. Um, Now we can jump ahead. And we have one more class of stem changing verbs. In this case, the E of the stem, after we drop the AR, ER, IR, changes to IE. Okay, so let's learn what they are. Okay, and one of our most important verbs in Spanish is querer, to want. And that E will change to an IE. So we drop the ER, we get care, but now it changes to quier. Quier, think of E and R. Quier. So yo quiero, tú quieres. Él quiere, ustedes quieren. There's always a stem change there. And the endings we already learned last time. But there's no stem change for nosotros, so it's queremos. Queremos. And that's it. And take a look. Look at two here. Someone says, I want to sleep. We often use querer with another verb, just like gustar. I like to sleep. The second verb is never conjugated. So I would say, I like to sleep. Me gusta dormir. I don't conjugate it. I want to sleep. Yo quiero dormir. I want to eat. Quiero comer. We want to play. Queremos jugar. Anyway, just take a look at some of these verbs. Okay. What are some other verbs where the E goes to IE? Empezar, again, the second E of empezar. Empezar means to begin. So the stem now isn't empez, we drop the R and we get empiez. Empiez. So I begin as yo empiezo, you begin as tú empiezas. He begins, él empieza, and they begin as ellos empiezan. No stem change for nosotros. Nosotros empezamos. And another verb that has a stem change, very common, ir I, the E goes to IE, is pensar. So the stem for the AR verb is not pens, it's piens. So yo pienso, tú piensas, él piensa, and ellos piensan. No stem change for nosotros, nosotros pensamos. So please look at these, spend a little time. They're very easy. There's a logic to them. And you should do fine conjugating these verbs. Finally, um, the last section of grammar is on page 119. And it's the difference between ser and estar. And we're not going to go into a lot of depth on this. You are going to be giving a reading and you're going to just have to choose ser or estar. So you have to think it through a little bit. Hopefully by doing your homework and all, you'll be fine. It's not it's not very demanding, okay? The problem is in English, we have only one verb to be, and it's hard for us to think outside the box sometimes that there could be two verbs to be. So we know what the two verbs to be are, ser and estar. Make sure you know how to conjugate them in the present tense. We learned that a long time ago. And let's learn the rules now. And these are again laid out in actividades analíticas at the top of page 120. So it says number 2, often a form of a star is followed by a phrase indicating location. So whenever you want to give location of a thing, a tangible thing like a building, a person, a house, a car, something you can touch, you want to give its location and you want to say it is back there, or it is on the street, or it is down the hill, or they are on the coast, the buildings. You're giving location. Use a star, not ser. Okay? So the uh, the boy is in the house. El niño está en la casa, not es en la casa, está en. I'm giving the location of a tangible thing, person, building. Okay. El lápiz is in the backpack. El lápiz está en la mochila. Please spend a little time with this. When you're giving location, use a star. Okay. Ser, what do you use ser for? Number 3, are always used, uh, the forms of ser are always followed by a person, thing, or nationality. So ser describes a permanent condition or characteristic. So it's something that's a permanent characteristic of somebody like nationality, okay? Or maybe they're a very tall person, okay? Maybe they're a very intelligent person. When you're describing something and you're giving a permanent characteristic, you're going to use ser. When you're giving relationship, okay? Uh, John is my brother. John es mi hermano, okay? Um, if I want to say John's son is intelligent, el hijo de John es inteligente. I use ser. I'm describing a permanent characteristic. Let's take a look. Es el hermano de Celia Roth. Okay. Él es. He's the brother of Celia Roth, or he's Celia Roth's brother. I'm giving his identity. I'm giving, okay, in this case, I'm giving identity. So Sarah will give you identity, nationality, or a descriptor, a permanent characteristic. Um, Here it says maybe they're playing music and someone asks, what kind of music is that? And they might say I'm sorry, someone's playing a musical instrument and they're saying, oh, where's he from? What type, and they'll say, and if he's an Argentine musician, they'll say, es un músico argentino. Okay. All right. They are family members. Son familiares. They are family members. Okay. Let's take a look at four. This gives you a little clearer now summary. So make sure you internalize this list. We use ser to give origin. Okay. Remember, ser de, yo soy de Los Angeles. I'm from Los Angeles. Yo soy de Greenville. I'm from Greenville. I don't say estar, I use ser. I'm from there. It's my origin. Ser de. Identity. El señor es mi papá. The man there is my father. I would never use a star. It's permanent. It's identity. Location, again, is given with a star when it's a tangible thing, something you can touch. Los hijos están en casa. The children, the children that you often refer to your children as los hijos. Mi hija is my daughter, mi hijo is my son. Together, collectively, mis hijos are my children. Los hijos, the person's children, in are at home. Okay, at home is en casa, not a casa, en casa. So they are at home is están en casa because you're given the location of people. All right, now I don't like when they introduce all this stuff, but this is true. A characteristic of somebody that could change. So right now you might be very awake and have a lot of energy, but in a few hours you might be tired. So your physical condition or state is changing, right? First you were very awake, now you're very tired. So in that case, you can use estar with adjectives. Usually use ser. I'm going to say that man is tall. That girl is intelligent. That guy is hardworking. I'm going to use ser. Él es trabajador. Ella es inteligente. Él es alto. But for your condition, like an emotional state, a physical condition that changes, you can use a star. I wouldn't get too concerned about that, but they wanted to share that with you now. And let's take a look though below. Um, it says in this auto prueba, we got to use ser or star. It says, mi mamá blank muy contenta esta semana. So contenta means what? Happy. Why is it contenta and not contento? Because it's an adjective. And mi mamá is feminine, so it's got a mi mamá contenta. Okay. So I want to say my mother is happy this week. They're showing you that it's provisional. It's short term. It's not permanent. So we'll use a star. Está muy contenta. Mis primos blank estudiantes en la universidad. So what do we want to say here? My primas, my female cousins, notice primas, are students. Are we going to use ser or a star? Ser. It's a permanent state. They are students. It's identity. It's identity or profession. With identity or profession, you use ser. Okay, look at the next one. Jorge blank de Canada. Ser or a star? We want to say Jorge is from Canada. Ser or a star? Ser. Origin is always with ser. Jorge es de Canadá. And then mi hermano en el trabajo. Now we need to understand what this means. My brother blank in work or at work. Mi hermano, he is at work. How do we say it? So we're giving his location, so we use a star. Mi hermano está en el trabajo. Location. Okay. Let me see. All right, I think that is it for chapter 4. So it just oh, and in terms again of your chapter 4 test, okay, know the family relationships, the terms in Spanish, okay. Um, so um, be able to say Maria is Raúl's grandmother. Maria es la abuela de Raúl. They're going to give you those family trees, and they're going to give you blanks, and they're going to have Maria es la blank de Raúl. Make sure you know that you can read it off, and whether she's la tía de Raúl, la abuela de Raúl. Just make sure you can do those. They're really very straightforward and very simple. Make sure you can do your comparisons using más plus an adjective or menos plus an adjective. Okay, these are for doing in unequal comparisons. Bob is taller than Mary. Mary is smarter than Bob. Or Mary is less tall. Make sure that you can use those. Know the terms for um, better, bueno, buena, mejor, okay, or bad, malo, mala, or peor, worse, okay. Finally, older es mayor. Ella es mayor que yo. She's older than me. And menor, ella es menor que yo. Let me see. Know the differences between ser and estar. Okay, we just went over those. Know the cultura section on page 111, Planificación Familiar. You'll be asked numerous true and false questions about this. There'll be one listening section. Take your time, and a few true and false questions on the listening section using the vocabulary we should all know. And then finally, your essay. Please do your essays. You should all be able to write 5 or 6 sentences on whatever they ask. In this case, they're going to have you describe un familiar, a family member. Just describe a family member. Um, how? Well, maybe tell me about him. What's he like? Is he an extrovertido? Okay, is he divertido? Is he a lot of fun? Is he tímido? Is he shy? Or is she tímida? Okay, so be able to maybe describe their personality a little bit. Are they happy? You know, and whatever relative you want. Mi tía es alegre. Okay, so be able to describe their personality and their physicality, maybe. Mi hermano es muy alto y inteligente. Okay. Es muy alto e inteligente. You could describe your brother physically and in terms of personality. Tell me what they like to do. Okay. Mi hermano le gusta estudiar, practicar fútbol, whatever they like to do. A mi hermana le gusta escuchar la radio, mirar la televisión. Just talk a little bit about tell me where they work or what they are. Maybe your sister is a professor. Mi hermana es profesora. And you can make this up too. Or mi hermano es chofer. My brother is a driver. Okay, or mi hermano trabaja en McDonald's, my brother. So be able to talk a little bit about family. Tell me what they like to do. Le gusta hacer, ¿qué le gusta hacer? And just one person in your family and be ready to describe them in 5 to 6 sentences. And I think that will do it for today. Okay.